This LinkedIn strategy is the best one I think I've ever used. It's one of the best performing plays I've seen in the past 2 years, and it's a posting framework that I've consistently used across our dozens of clients to generate millions of dollars in pipeline. I'll be walking you through every step that I take to implement this play with 7, 8, and 9-figure founders, and give you the exact framework you can use to implement this for yourself. The fundraise announcement campaign crushes for B2B founders. Companies that execute this right can generate millions of dollars in pipeline from a single set of posts. But why does it work so well? First, LinkedIn users engage to celebrate the announcement. That celebratory engagement that's kind of reflexive in users on the platform then amplifies the post to a broader audience and gets it in front of actual potential customers. When those ideal customers engage, that gives you signals that you could use to send outbound to those accounts, which are much higher intent. And of course, the announcement post done well will drive traffic to your site, and some of those people will book demos straight away. You can also use that website intent data from those site visitors to inform your outbound as well. To nail this play, there are 4 simple steps: the launch asset, engagement inflation, creating an echo chamber, and demand capture mechanisms. Let's walk through each of them in a bit more depth. First, let's start with the launch asset, the post itself. How do you craft this to go as viral as possible and also drive buying intent? The foundation of this play is to announce a launch that picks up a bunch of traction on the timeline. If you're a B2B SaaS or an AI startup, the simplest way, not the easiest way, because fundraising is not easy by any means, but the simplest way to do this that every company has at their disposal in that category is using a fundraise announcement. If you've raised a seed round, Series A, really any round of funding, you could use this to drive a bunch of visibility on social. One of our clients booked just under 500 meetings and $6.6 million in pipeline using this play. It works really well. It's kind of crazy. Now, the thing is, you only have a few shots at this. You can't announce a fundraise every single week. You have a limited amount of times you can use this play. So you want to make sure the post is crafted as effectively as possible, which is what I'm going to walk you through now. The downside of this play is you only have a few shots to do it right. You can't use this over and over and over again. You only fundraise a few times in your life cycle as a company. Here's the anatomy of a winning fundraise announcement post so you can nail this. First, you'll want to include the funding amount in the hook and in the imagery. That big number. So say you raised $20 million. $20 million, that specific number is very attention grabbing. You want to leverage that in the hook. The funding amount should appear in that hook before you need to click see more. If it's buried, you're wasting a huge opportunity. You could use this free LinkedIn post preview generator to make sure the right information appears before the see more button. Once you nail that hook, in that body, tell the story of why you started the company and then transition into what you're going to use the funding to do, what features you're going to launch, the vision you have going forward. Here's an example from Austin at Unify. He talks about how we started Unify 631 days ago with the mission to be the best platform for revenue teams to power creative, thoughtful, and delightful interactions with their customers. Super simple, but gives the audience an understanding of the why behind the company, which is quite compelling. And here's another example of a fundraise announcement post from Julio at Abacum. Notice how the top of the body focuses on the narrative behind the founding story of the company. One other thing you should do in the body of this fundraise announcement post, which both Austin and Julio do, is tag investors and thank investors and key customers. So you see Austin does that up here, tagging a few customers. What you'll also find is people who see this fundraise announcement post will often reach out to those customers. So you might want to prep them with some talk tracks on like what to say if people reach out to them asking about their experience with you. But great opportunity to, again, drive more engagement. Same thing with investors. So tagging investors here and here. And you go to the other example with Julio and you see he kind of does the same thing. This is the one instance where mass tagging still does kind of work on LinkedIn. Now, you have a couple of options for the media on the post. There's 2 tracks that I'd recommend going here. Either one, you're going to go with a fundraise announcement graphic. There's a pretty standard formula that works as of right now. Or 2, you're going to go with a high production value video. Really depends on your strengths as a founder and as a company. If you're good on camera and you have a good creative team, you can go with the high production video. But if you don't really have that and you want to keep it simple, a simple announcement graphic can work really well. And Austin's post is a great example of what this fundraise announcement graphic style looks like. You want to include the amount raised. Again, make that pretty prominent. That large specific number does grab a lot of attention. What you also want to do is include the logos of investors. This is great for social proof. And especially if you have tier 1 investors from big firms, you want to include those logos again to drive social proof and to get people to engage and get their attention. The example from Julio, they went with a high production launch video. So it's the 2 founders talking straight to the camera, sharing the narrative. And that's another play that you could do. I'd say the other variation of high production value video is some sort of skit or story. This is a lot harder to execute and probably beyond the scope of this video. But again, if you have the creative production capabilities, that is a path that you could go down. A quick note on timing, I'd recommend posting this kind of mid-morning on any weekday. I wouldn't go on the weekends, and I'd also be mindful of any current events or political stuff that's going on. If there's a big piece of news, you don't want to post your announcement at the same time as that is popping off in the news cycle. Just keep that in mind. But but more broadly, if you're posting mid-morning on any weekday, you'll be in a good spot. Now, this next step guarantees that this post is going to hit the algorithm and get in front of as many people as possible. It's called engagement inflation. Those first 30 to 60 minutes on LinkedIn are crucial. After you hit publish on a post, if you go those first 30 to 60 minutes and the post doesn't get that much engagement, it's going to flop. So especially with an announcement like this, you want to give it the best chance possible to succeed. And it's actually quite easy to do this. All you're going to do is prime your investors and connections in your industry to engage with that content as soon as it goes live. Tactically, all you're going to do is in that most recent investor update before the launch goes live, just make a quick call to action saying, hey, this is going live next week. Would love for you guys to engage. That way you plant that seed in their mind. They know it's coming and there's sort of that expectation to support. And then again, after the post goes live, you want to send the link to that list of investors and connections. Whoever you send your investor updates to, send that link out via email. Also fire off text to your friends, family. Now is the time to call in any favors you can to get people to engage on that post in the first 30 minutes. Of course, you can't do this with every post. You want to pick your shots, but in this case, with fundraise announcement play, this is the time that you want to call in all your favors. Another pro tip here is only send this to people who you think are going to want to engage. You don't want to make someone feel like they have to. It kind of creates this weird dynamic where it does come across as kind of desperate and annoying. Don't mass spam this to anyone, but again, send it to your investors, send it to close friends and family who want to support, and send it to people in your industry that you think would genuinely find your product or announcement interesting. And that should put you in a good spot to get that initial spark of engagement and get your post picked up by the algorithm. And a good mental frame here so you don't come across as too desperate is you want to give people the opportunity to engage. Don't beg them to. Simple template you can steal for a message to send is, hey, just announced this, thought you might be interested, and then include the link. That way, if they want to engage, they can, but they don't feel forced to. They don't feel obligated. That small shift in dynamic makes a big difference. Third piece to this formula is creating a content echo chamber. During the 1 to 2 days of your fundraise announcement, your target audience should not be able to escape you on LinkedIn. They got to go on LinkedIn and see something from your company, whether it's from you as a founder, people on your team, your company. It should really feel like an echo chamber. And here's how you do that. The starting point is making the announcement post from your account as the founder, but you're also going to want to post from the company account. It's not going to do as well. Company pages just don't do as well as personal accounts in 2025 and beyond, but you're going to get more engagement than average on a company account post. Take advantage of that, post it from your company page. And you're also going to want to layer in other team members. So this is the real secret sauce. You want to layer in your founder account, company page, and then get as many team members as you can, making their own original piece of content around the fundraise. What you're not going to do is give them some copy paste script that was generated by ChatGPT that sounds super generic. Your audience can tell it's not going to perform well at all. Instead, encourage your team to write their own original piece of content. And ideally, this should be unique to their own experience at your company. For example, the head of product at your company might write about how they think about building product and what that's been like so far and how this funding round is going to change that going forward, things they're excited about. Your CRO might write about the biggest deal they've closed and how it's been building the go-to-market motion at your company so far. There's all these unique angles that people on your team can lean into. And I know it's a buzzword, but every post from your team should feel authentic. And the way you do that is by giving them the freedom, the creative freedom to tell their own story, not through copy-paste templates. And what you're going to find is some people are more likely to post than others. It's the same as broader founder-led content versus employee-led content. There's going to be some team members that enjoy writing, enjoy posting. Lean into those people for this fundraise announcement. So you're not going to get the engineer who doesn't want to be on social media at all to make their first LinkedIn post around this. Even if they do, it's not going to perform well. But if there's already someone on your team that's not a founder, but they have a decent sized audience, encourage them to post. Give them that opportunity. I would try to find 5 to 7 people on your team who are excited about posting and make sure they create an original piece of content. If you can get more than 10, amazing. But if you can land somewhere between 5 and 7, I think you'll be in a good spot. An extension of this is to also have your investors do the same, especially if you're raising a Series A or Series B and your company has a lot of momentum. A lot of times your investors are going to be excited to share that they're taking part in that. If you want, you can also ask them to make their own post. One client of ours actually recently had their investors make videos around their fundraising announcement that they posted to amplify their reach on the timeline. And the videos share the story of why they invested, what it's been like so far. And again, it feels very authentic. It's not copy paste. And an important note here, the prep for this starts at least a month in advance. You're not going to spin this up the week before. The clients we have that crush this play spend at least a month before the announcement goes live planning for it, getting their team to write content, coordinating with their investors, getting PR pitches in place. It's a very intentional process. By the way, if you want a deeper dive on this entire playbook with examples, templates you could use, or you're just more of a reading person and you prefer to read a guide versus watch this video, I wrote up a full guide to our fundraise announcement playbook for SaaS companies and AI startups. I'll link in the description down below. Go ahead and just enter your email. It's totally free and I'll send it over to you. Also, real quick pro tip on the fundraise announcement post and then all these team posts that are going live. A simple way you can get even more reach on this content is literally reposting the content. Once it goes live, give the post about 10 hours and then click the repost button. You don't have to do it with a comment, just click repost and it's going to resurface that content on the timeline. It sounds silly. I don't like that this works, but it does work. So you want to lean into it. Let's talk about step number 4, demand capture mechanisms. If you do your post well and you create this content echo chamber, you're going to get a bunch of inbound demos. That's going to happen. But if you don't have proper demand capture mechanisms in place, you're going to be leaving a ton of pipeline on the table. And the mechanism here is simple. You want to use social engagement and website traffic as intent signals to inform your outbound messages via email and LinkedIn. There are 4 different groups of people you'll want to keep track of. You'll want to pull lists of website visitors. You can use a tool like Unify to do this. ICP accounts that engage with your primary launch post of people that liked and commented on that primary launch post from your founder. ICP accounts that engage with team member posts. So creating that content echo chamber, all the people that engaged with those posts you want to keep track of. And also ICP accounts that engage with press coverage. So if you do have any press coverage going live, like TechCrunch or something like that, keep track of people that engaged on those posts on LinkedIn, and you can use that to inform your outbound campaigns. There's a software called Trigify. I'm not sponsored by them. It's just the best tool I found to do this that helps you keep track of social engagement, both on your own posts. You can keep track and export a list of the people who liked and engaged on your content. And you can also use it to monitor other posts. So you can keep track of a list, export a CSV, and you can use a tool like Clay to enrich that data with email addresses or whatever other contact information you want. And then you can feed that into your outbound campaigns. These signals, so social engagement and website traffic, website intent, give you a good idea that someone is at least vaguely interested in your product. They've seen your fundraiser, like, oh, this is interesting. And especially if they fit your ICP, it's worth using that data to inform the outbound campaigns that you're sending. This is just one standalone strategy that you could use. And at the end of the day, what you really need is a full step-by-step guide on everything you need to do to master LinkedIn and grow an audience and generate pipeline. So click here to watch the next video where I'll walk you through the exact 3 steps you need to grow on LinkedIn from scratch and use it to grow your business. From beginner to intermediate to advanced, I go over everything you need to do in your profile, in your content, in your DMs to grow your audience and generate real customers from the platform. The video will turn you into an absolute sales and marketing machine. I'll see you over there.